going to have implications for a while.
This is not Mika. He tweeted about Arnold Schwarzenegger later. He's tweeted. I mean, again, you could just talk about how undignified and unpresidential that is, but that just doesn't even matter next to charges against the 44th president of the United States and the FBI and everybody else. This is completely reckless, and I could not find one person inside the White House, and I spoke to many this weekend, that defended Donald Trump. They were all scratching their heads saying they had no idea what this man was thinking.
Behind the scenes.
We haven't talked about this. He left in a rage on Friday afternoon. He was in a rage all weekend, reports have it.
Because
he was
it
in a rage
discovered
when
that his attorney general lied?
Yeah, because it was discovered that his attorney general lied, and so he's mad that his staff can't contain those stories. Maybe if his people stopped lying. This is a very small man. So maybe if these people would stop lying about their contacts with Russia, maybe he could get out of the way and get some good press.
I'm going to get to President Obama's response in just a moment, but Harold, you know, there's a lot of reporting I have behind the scenes that Reince Priebus is flailing, to say the least, at his job. I'm hearing that from Bob Acosta. Robert Acosta is coming on later to talk about all the different sources he has on a story that's similar. But I also don't understand why the former head of Breitbart appears to be handing the president some fake news, and the president is just riffing on it wildly, with no sense that he is president of the United States, no respect for the office, and calling former president of the United States unbelievable names. We're at a low point in American history, and I don't know how anybody can defend this president, even if it's their job. Like, you've got to have a job after this. You've got to look in the mirror after this. Sarah Huckabee, or whoever is going to speak out next, you have to look in the mirror and think about this country after this is over. You need to think of the end game here, because there is one at the rate we're going. Harold.
I agree with you. I think this, to everyone's point, this is an historic affront to the decency and the prestige of the office of the presidency. If this president believes that a former president done something, you have to have some evidence and support that if you're going to put this kind of charge out. Two, E.J. Dionne writes this morning, I believe, in the Post, maybe it was over the weekend, he said there are two things that can happen here. One night, this is either a spectacular charge, invented charge by this president, or there's actually grounds for surveillance against President Trump. I have no idea. This is just obviously speculation here. The flip side of this, though, I disagree slightly with some around the table in terms of the speed in which this will be resolved. Mark has been prescient throughout and saying when Congress made a mistake and they would correct something that day. I think we're going to see some movement on this today. If what Michael Schmidt is reporting from the FBI, and Comey's not doing this to protect Obama, he's doing it to protect the FBI and his own integrity. So we've seen when Director Comey's personal reputation is at stake, he acts more quickly. It's likely he will act today if indeed the FBI is insinuated as it seemingly is in this story. And finally, as someone that loves history and loves politics and loves public service, I couldn't agree more with what's been said around the table. I've not seen this low of a point. You think about the last 45 days, the president has challenged the wisdom and province of the judicial branch. You had the attorney general accused of perjury, which I'm not sure he perjured himself, but he certainly misled the United States Senate, and then had to recuse himself while not acknowledging whether or not there was an investigation of the campaign into whether or not there was some sort of communications with Russia that might have allowed them to meddle in our elections. We really are at a low point, and for those who think that the press and those who cover the press may exaggerate, this is not an exaggerated moment. No, to Joe's point, this is a low moment for Washington and a low moment for politics.
And Mika, I do want to say this too. What is disturbing to me is that while the ship is sinking, and when you have the President of the United States doing what he is doing, while the ship is sinking, maybe not even in the polls, but with respectability, that it will allow the President of the United States to work with Congress to pass legislation, because right now that's a big question. When are they going to get past all this and start passing legislation? You have people on the inside of the White House, instead of being worried about Donald Trump's recklessness and unevenness emotionally, you have all these stories coming out that people are getting the long knives out and trying to attack Reince Priebus. This is not a Reince Priebus issue. They're leaking to newspapers that Reince Priebus is failing. No, this is not a Reince Priebus issue. This is a Steve Bannon. I'm sure Steve Bannon's doing this. I'm sure he's going to be on the cover of Time magazine talking about Reince Priebus next week. But how sick that while the ship is going down in the way it's gone down this weekend, you have Reince Priebus being attacked. Reince Priebus isn't the one that tweeted out what was tweeted out Saturday. Reince Priebus, hold on. Reince Priebus also wasn't the one who handed him this article. Any guesses who handed him this Breitbart article that made him go crazy?
Maybe the head of Breitbart, or someone who served as the head of Breitbart, who's sitting there all day and all night with the President of the United States, Steve Bannon. But I will say there are people with talent who can't get to the President, and that is the feeling of frustration that many in the administration have about what's going on here, for whatever it's worth. All right, let's get to Michael Schmidt. By the way, I do want to read